Hello, good evening, and welcome to everyone.
How's everybody doing?
Great. My name is Mutlu, and once again, you're with Anthony here. Welcome to our second lesson of the fundamentals to the wisdom of Kabala. And today we're going to be studying where we came from and where we're going to. So this is going to be an extraordinary lesson, because for the first time we'll be going into the depths of creation at a very light level, obviously, to discover how the whole of creation was built and out of what material were we all built from. So it's a very fundamental lesson where we'll be discovering how creation from a thought became to be realized in our corporeal level of existence. As usual, please, if you have any queries and questions, ask them through the chat site, the forum site, or is it the live chat page? There's something like that?
Yeah, there should be a live chat there.
All right. So if you have any questions, please do ask them. It would be great if you could ask questions with respect to the study material that we're studying at the moment. And then if you have any additional questions about the wisdom of Kabbalah, you can save them to the end. I'll try to leave some time at the end of the lesson so that we can go over any questions you have initially. All right. So, in our first lesson, we talked about what the wisdom of Kabbalah was, and the initial, the main concept that this wisdom is all around is how to discover the whole of creation, who built it, how we were all created, and how we can connect to that one force called the force of creation, or you can call it the creator, or you can call it God, Allah. It doesn't really matter. That there is one force that the Kabbalists are talking about, the wisdom of Kabbalah is talking about, that has created the whole of reality so that the people in this reality could attain the abilities of the creator and actually become a partner in reality with the creator. And we discovered that the wisdom of Kabbalah has nothing to do with black magic, mysticism, or any other kind of things like Kabbalistic yoga or Kabbalistic, I don't know, red strings or holy water, anything like that. But it is a pure wisdom about the discovery of a person's existence, its source of existence, and how we can actually reconcile everything in our lives towards a common goal called the purpose of life and the purpose of creation. So today we're going to look at how all that came about, and we're going to discover how we were all initially entered into that, how we all initially entered that process. So today, second lesson is: who are we, where did we come from, and where we're going to. Now, according to the sources of Kabbalah, which we're going to delve into in the lessons ahead, the wisdom of Kabbalah tells us that the whole of creation first became to start as a process from a thought. And that thought is called the thought of creation, or the initial thought of the creator. Now, this one force behind everything in life, we call in Kabbalah, the wisdom of Kabbalah, the creator. The reason we use the word creator is quite simple and it's quite logical, because we as beings are living in this reality which has been created. Obviously, we were born in it, so I didn't create it. I know Anthony didn't create it because he was born here as well, ended up here as well, and just like all of us did. So the Kabbalists use the word creator because initially they say it's much easier for us to grasp and reconcile in our minds and feelings, because we have ended up in a reality which we did not create, but obviously some force did create it if we're in it. And since we did not create ourselves, obviously there must be some force that created us as well. So that force that they're talking about in the wisdom of Kabbalah is called the creator. And the whole of creation started initially with this one thought of the creator, to create a created being and to fill that created being with endless pleasure, with endless happiness and joy. Now you might say, well, Mutlu, that's all great, but when we look at the world, it's not quite like that. So what kind of a thought is that? I mean, we're all ending up here, and if we look at the world, it's going from bad to worse from generation to generation, and the suffering is just intolerable. If we look at life and our history especially, it's just one suffering after another. So how can the Kabbalists say that there is some creator who decided to create the whole of reality with this good thought and intention of giving all the created beings, all the creatures, pleasure and happiness and joy, and to do that endlessly? Well, you'd be right in asking that question. In fact, we all came to the wisdom of Kabbalah asking that question. Why is there suffering in life? What's the big deal? Why can't we just all be happy here and just live a nice, comfortable life? However, there's a reason why things are a little sour. And the reason we're going to delve into right now. Now, when the Creator created all of us, his initial idea of creation was obviously to create something in perfection. And that perfect state was actually created in the beginning of everything. So he wanted this created being, which is us, okay, all of us, 8 billion people on the planet. And what he did was, wow, I want to have this created being, and I want to fulfill it with all the joy, pleasure that I have, and I want to give it to them endlessly. And that was the initial phase that we were actually all created in, which is quite hard to believe going through all the stuff that we're going through in life. However, Kabbalists have a different approach to what we see. Now, the Kabbalists describe this state to us as infinity or endlessness. Sometimes in the books they call it heaven. However, we're just going to call it the first initial state, the first state of creation. So according to this first state of creation, the Creator, this creating force, already created everything in perfection and gave it that perfection of endless joy and pleasure, just like that. A little bit of a problem there is we don't feel it that way. So in order for us to attain this first initial state, this first situation, in order for us to attain perfection, he devised a bit of a plan. Just like we have a plan to raise our children, the Creator thought, well, what can I do to this created being which I've created in perfection? What could I really do so that this created being would be as wise as I am, as great as I am, and will not feel any less than I am? So the Creator decided to take us to school. And that school is called this world. So hard to believe. How were you at school, Anthony?
I was 50-50.
50-50. Okay, well, when we're going through this process of development in this world, what we have to go through is not 50-50, but 100% of development into becoming exactly what he created in the beginning right here. And what he did was, he created the whole of creation in that perfect state, and then he played a little trick on us, and he decided to bring us down to the level of this world. Let me draw it from here. Where little by little we lost touch. We started feeling the Creator less and less. And all these phases that we went through, where we were feeling the Creator here 100%, we all of a sudden began to lose that sensation that we were with the Creator, and we started losing touch. So from 100%, we went down to 80%, 60%, 40%, 20%, all the way down to 0%, where we in this world have absolutely no perception of a creator. We just end up here, just like people anywhere part of the world. Africa, Asia, Europe, America, North, South, we don't know. We just end up here. And we have absolutely no sensation of the creator. However, our initial created state is this state, and from this state, inside of us, there is a sensation. That sensation is called the point in the heart. And that point in the heart is actually a part of the creator which we resonate with as a feeling. And it's that feeling actually that allows us to ask and wonder and ponder on the question, why am I living? What's the meaning of my life? What am I giving to myself or to anyone in this life? What is it all about? What am I getting out of it? Is anybody getting anything out of this life? We're simply born. We go through this process, whether we're young, middle-aged or old, and we die. We just pass away, just like an animal does, just like a plant does even. And so that's how our life is. But when this point in the heart, it's a very special point, this point in the heart awakens, our life all of a sudden takes a new turn. Because all of a sudden, what we didn't think about before, we start to wonder about. Before we just thought about having a good life, and we thought about how we could have a good life. And now we're thinking, well, can I even have a good life? Is there even such a thing as a good life? The way we're living, it doesn't look like it, does it? And there's a big secret to that, which we're going to delve into today. Now, in this world, the way we're created, all of us want one thing. We want fulfillment. We want to be happy. We want to get the things we want to get and feel content, happy, full, in perfection. This is why in our essence we were actually created in perfection, and our whole life we strive to get some kind of fulfillment of happiness and joy in this life as well, because we were created as such right here. So why can't we be happy? Why is there a big drama about this thing called being happy and fulfilled in life? Why can't we just live a happy, normal life? Well, because our nature is a bit weird, you see. All of us is a desire to receive pleasure. And we normally write this down as a kli or a vessel. Okay? All of us, we're all vessels seeking pleasure. That's what we do in life. We run after things which we believe are going to make us happy. And sometimes we get the things that make us happy. We run after something and we make it. Let's say we get the career we wanted, or we get the car we wanted, or we got the home we wanted, or we became a successful businessman or a successful artist, a writer. Doesn't matter what. We became what we wanted to become. But as you know, even though you had moments as such, it never lasts. Because we're a desire to receive pleasure. Desire to receive pleasure. And the problem with that is, the moment we get what we want, let's call this pleasure, and let's call this desire. The moment we get what we want, what happens? Well, pleasure cancels out the desire. And we end up with the feeling of nothing again. It's like being hungry. I'm hungry and I sit down and I eat something. As I take the first bite, it tastes great. But as I take the second, the third, the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, the pleasure starts to go down. So the pleasure isn't like the first bite. It's like that ice cream. If you love ice cream or chocolate, the first bite tastes great, or the first lick, it's wonderful. But as you eat the ice cream more and more, or delve into that chocolate, the taste becomes less and less and less until you actually stop feeling the taste of the ice cream. So what happened? We wanted ice cream, we got it, but as we got what we wanted, the taste we wanted, the pleasure and the taste, the pleasure and the desire, they cancelled each other out. So now I'm after looking for new pleasures. So our whole life is actually going from one desire to another, hoping, anticipating that we'll be fulfilled and happy more and more and more. But because of this one little formula, our whole life is pretty much a catastrophe. Because this little formula here is the guarantor that we will never, ever be content or fulfilled. It's impossible, especially with this thing, where the desire and the pleasure cancel each other out. There's nothing you can do in life to attain and to maintain and to keep that happiness. It's just not possible. This law of nature is very important because it allows us to understand the cause of our problem. That every time we want to fulfill ourselves with more and more pleasure, the more we want to fulfill ourselves with all kinds of pleasures, with anything you want to have, you begin to see and understand that none of these are going to make you happy, because the pleasure and the desire, they cancel each other out, leaving you not with just zero, but leaving you in a minus, because you spent time, money, effort, all the stress, all the drama, depending what you're getting, what you're running after, to get something, and it doesn't last. So you're already in a minus because you spent pretty much your life on it. It's like somebody building a big business. After a while, it's not about the money, it's not about the success. After a while, you're just there because you built it, and then you just end up dead. So knowing this formula already is a very big advantage for all of us, simply because we can now make a valuable calculation. And that calculation is, well, what is worthwhile chasing? And that's the calculation we should all be making. What should I chase in life so that my life is actually worth it? Because this little formula won't let you get anything. Now, once all of humanity, as you can see, we're all going through a bunch of stuff, has been going through this whole history of events. Some of us have this deep question because our point in the heart awakened, simply because we just grew sick and tired and came to despair from all these, well, desire and pleasure cancelling each other out. So we were running after a bunch of stuff and we just felt like, well, I'm still not happy. I've got everything and I'm still not happy. I got more than everything well, I'm still really not happy. This is why maybe you're wondering sometimes why rich people, famous and rich people, all of a sudden get into depression. They get into drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and you know, other people can't really understand. They think, well, why would you be going into depression? I mean, you got everything you want. You got money, you got fame, you got power, you got everything. You got good looks, you got the full Monty, all right? But why are you unhappy, right? Because the other people on the street, they don't have anything, and they don't understand why these famous and rich people are in depression. Well, if I have everything, then I don't really have a desire for anything because I can get anything. So I actually never get a pleasure from even the things I want because I'm not running after anything. I've got everything. If I want to eat something, I just go and eat it. So there's not a big desire that's building up inside of me to even give me a little bit of pleasure for the things I'm after and I can get. And this is very important. But a poor man can get a lot of pleasure from just a bowl of soup because he doesn't get it all the time. So for him, it's like great pleasure and he's hungry for it. So having a big desire, a hunger for something is very important to feel pleasure. And the trick behind it still is, which is the default of this world, is even if you get what you want, you're still left empty. So it's very important to understand this because through these phases of unfulfillment, this lack of fulfillment, this thing that doesn't get us, this doesn't make us really what we want to be. It's always like a half-full cup. That's how we're always feeling, just a half-full cup. That sensation begins to awaken inside of us the question and the point in the heart here. Okay? The point in the heart here. And he starts to ask this question: what is the meaning of my life? Why am I living? Up to here, are we all on the same page? Any questions or anything there?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. All right, so we're all good. So that's the situation, and this is our nature, and this is why humanity cannot be happy. Now let's look at our historical development as human species in this world, how we developed and how we came to the state that we're in right now. So let's take a look at that. Once again, let's draw for ourselves how the Creator first created us in perfection, in the world of infinity, as we call it. It's infinity because it's endless joy. It's never-ending happiness and contentment. So that's where we're all created. And in the Creator's mind, we're still here. But it's not important that we're here in the Creator's mind. It's important to be there in our mind. And that's the whole spiritual development that the wisdom of Kabbalah takes us through. So what we have to do now, once we have, well, let me just draw this in black so it's a bit more clear. So once we've descended into this world called this life, this world, and all we have from there is just this little dot in the heart that asks the question why we're living. And now from here onwards we can talk about the development of humanity. Okay, so humanity's history, as you might have known or read about, is actually from the Big Bang about 16 billion years ago. And since then, reality has been developing in the still, the vegetative, animate and human levels. And our historical development is also a reflection of these four phases of creation: the still, the vegetative, the animate and the speaking level. And once all of the still level of development completed itself with the earth, the galaxy, the stars and everything a new level started, and that was the plant level, the vegetative level. And once the whole of the vegetative level finished its development, then the animate level was born from that level. And once the animate level was completed, from the animate level, the human species began to develop. And since the beginning of our ancestral development, humanity has also been developing within those cycles that reflect how we developed in the first place. Now let's just make this a history line here like this. So human species, well, when I say human species, I'm talking about our body, have been around for about, 800,000 years, something like that. Okay. So if we make this time, humanity's development, let's call it. Humanity. Oops, just a second. Just get that right. Humanity's development. Okay, kind of like our historical development. So we also started at our development also at a still level, and that still level is actually called still because we started first developing in getting what we need to stay alive. Okay, because the initial thing for any human being is staying alive. All right, and that is called the still level because still level, the still matter in life, like this wood or any still matter, the atoms try to just maintain themselves. They just maintain their shape and their form. And so the still level for us, let me call this S, still level for our human development level was family, food, and sex. Because just like animals also need to do this, plants need to do this, we also need to do this so that the generations could continue. And once we developed our still level of existence, we had this new phase in human society and the desire to be wealthy. We wanted to get rich. We wanted to have more things than other people. And this desire is called the vegetative level, where we want to, if I can write properly with this, it's the vegetative level, where we want to get rich. And rich people are actually living at the vegetative level. It's not the human level. Vegetative meaning that I want to be higher than the other plants around me. I want to reach out to the sun and be bigger and be better and higher than others. That's rich. And then in society we developed a desire for power and honor, or we can call it control. Control, honor, recognition. So all the politicians, the artists, the famous people who had influence and control over society were in this animate level of existence. Let's call it control. And finally, we had another level of existence, a leap in humanity, which actually started way back in Babylon, but it was also reformatted and refreshed during the Renaissance, and that was science. Humanity all of a sudden wanted to know things. We want to know how this world works. We want to know why the sun is, rising up and setting down. We want to know why the moon is here today and not here tomorrow. Where has it gone all of a sudden? We want to know why the plants were growing this way. Some seasons are like this. So why is it cold some times of the month and hot on other times of the month? So we wanted to discover, we wanted to know how this world was functioning. And that was called science, and that is actually the human level, because human level of existence is the question when we start to actually ask about life and we want to know about it. We don't want to just live without knowing. We want to seek it. So that's called science. And that's where we were at until the 1980s, 1970s and 1990s, let's say. And this whole development through thousands of years of human history has been one drama after the other, allowing us to want more, to be more comfortable in life, to be better off in life. All of a sudden, we now came to the 21st century, and we're thinking, well, we just went through all this process and we're still not happy, and we still don't see a good future for ourselves or for our children. And you know what? We don't really even care about what happens to the next generation. I mean, look how we're abusing the earth and the environment. We just don't care anymore about anything or anyone. So we came to this 21st century thinking and knowing that we don't care about anything else except how we feel right now, how we're going to be happy right now. And that brings out the question in most of us about why we're living, and that is the dot in the heart. So from now on, humanity's development from this egoistic state of development, this egoism which has pushed us to develop more and more and more, want more and more and more, and to actually get it, has now come to a dead end. Because we don't really want to develop anymore either. Kids, they want to live in their phones. Where's my phone, by the way? Okay, okay. Because we're always checking our phone. Where's my phone? What am I going to do? Is anything happening? We've just turned into a miserable person and a miserable global society where we just can't find ways to be happy anymore. And this whole phase, this whole process that we went through has been by our developing egoism, let's say. And from generation to generation, we've always become more egoists. We wanted more, to do more, to attain more, to get more. And now we ended up in this situation after 2 world wars, a big mess, environmental collapse on the way, possible 3rd World War on the way, with a bunch of regional conflicts all over the planet, the Western society completely depressed and don't know what to do with themselves, leaving us our last phase of development. And that last phase is called spirituality, where we need to discover the meaning of our life here, the meaning of our lives in this world. We have to discover it, we have to find it, we have to attain it while we're living here in this life. And by doing that, our spirituality is going to take us to this higher level of recognition. Our conscious growth will once again bring us to this perfection. And this perfection will be attained by our efforts to reach that perfection. So gradually, slowly, with our dot in the heart, we need to rise back to where we were initially created and attain this higher consciousness and actually exist here with the Creator, just like we were created in the first state, and just like we went through this whole big mess and that we're going through in the second state, to attain this perfection in the third state, but to attain it with our own efforts, our own work. It's not like somebody giving it to us, but we actually now have an opportunity to build that reality called a spiritual reality, which is to attain the same high level of consciousness that our Creator has, and to live as partners in creation with the Creator. And that sensation we must attain in this life while we're living here with our dots in the heart. So we need to take this dot in the heart all the way back here and put it in its right place. And the whole of humanity will need to, by default, because that is the purpose of creation according to the wisdom of Kabala and how the Kabbalists describe it, all of us are going to have to put our 2 cents here, and we're all going to come to build that perfection. And that's called the purpose of life. So we are coming from here, okay? This is the world of infinity. World of infinity. Okay? And right now you are here. You are here. And this is where we need to get to. Where we need to get to. Or you can call it home. Right. Any questions there?
Yes. So we have one question. It says, I would like to know if out there in the Creator's mind, do we have any kind of consciousness of our existence?
We have to first understand that the Creator is the Creator and we are the created being. Okay, so we're two different forms of existence. Now, we as created beings have to come to a state where we understand how the Creator is thinking. We have to attain His attributes so we can begin to understand why He's doing what He's doing. It's like growing up in a family, right? Sometimes as kids, we don't understand why mum and dad did certain things. I mean, they take us to school. They don't really ask us a lot of questions when we're kids, right? We get dressed up in a certain way. They take us to school. They feed us something, and so on. As we grow up, we start to, ask these questions. Dad, why do you want me to do that? And then he explains to us why I should be doing something. So this process is very similar. And the Creator also wants us now to start growing up, to become like Him, just like kids grow up to be like their parents. They grow up to be strong, independent, on their own, and so on. And in the Creator's reality, in order to exist in that reality, we also need to go through this phase called growing up. And it's a very special process because as we grow up, we begin to attain what the Creator intended for us and why He did those things specifically the way He did. So, coming back to your question, attaining that level of consciousness is actually attaining what the Creator is doing, why He's doing it. And our role and our job is to actually be in that same perfection as He is, so that we can participate in reality and exist in reality, in His reality, as partners, as active, independent beings. Hope that answers your question. If it's not clear though, let me know.
So far, so good.
Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
That's it, just one question. Okay, you guys can ask any question you want. I can't really see how many people we are. Soon, hopefully, we're going to have something called a Zoom session. All right, and we'll be able to see all the friends who attend on the screen with us, and you'll be able to ask questions once again on the forum or the chat box here, and we'll be able to answer them. But we'll be a bit more interactive because we'll see each other as well. So what we have to do here, as you can see, raise ourselves back from this world. Okay, we can call this. You're here to, this world, okay, this world. When we say this world, we're actually just talking about a level of consciousness. This level of consciousness is what we feel in our five senses. This is how we perceive reality. But what we want to add actually is a higher level of perception, and that higher level of perception is called spirituality, where we can actually perceive, be in touch, and be connected with the Creator. All right, let's make the Creator look a bit more dark here so he's more prominent. Okay, there we go. So the Creator is, according to what the Kabbalists describe, is perfection and perfect. We in this world feel nothing like perfect or perfection. However, the reason for that is this oppositeness, this lack of fulfillment, lack of being in this perfect state, begins inside of us to develop the question and the desire to know, well, why not? Why are we in this state? And how can we get out of it? Because this continuous ongoing suffering that humanity is going through, this just blankness, is actually the pushing force of development, where we begin to constantly pinch ourselves. Actually, life is constantly just tripping us over to pinch us, to kind of push us to this, push us against the wall, where we just say, why? Why me? Okay, I'm sure you guys have asked that question to yourselves at least once. Why me? Okay, there's only one answer to that. Why not? Okay, because we're all going through it. So everybody's asking that question, why me? Because simply because we, all of us, need to come back to our initial place of existence where we were created in perfection, and we have to build that perfection ourselves. By building that perfection ourselves, we can actually attain the mind of the Creator. Just like when we grow up, we don't really understand what it means to be a mum or a dad. But when we have kids, all of a sudden it dawns on us what it means to be parents. And that is actually the critical factor in understanding our parents. Because when you got kids, you begin to understand that what your parents did to you, which was like sometimes confusing, sometimes not, right in your eyes, becomes apparent. Well, I'm talking about good parents, obviously, right? So, there we go.
And okay. We do have a couple more questions.
Okay, great.
One question, this is left over from last week. When correcting a desire, after all the scrutinizing is down, does one continue to use the power of thought to grow and develop the desire, or do we let it go and let nature handle it at that point?
Okay, great. So you're asking this question. Well, it's all good that we've got a dot in the heart, okay? And this dot in the heart is a very small desire. Actually, you know what? This is what the dot in the heart is, right? In case you guys are wondering what this dot in the heart is, this is the heart, okay? And this is the dot in the heart. It is a very small dot. Now, the heart means all my desires. All my desires. That's a man's heart. So we're not talking about the meat flesh here. And the dot in the heart is this little spark inside of us that's actually connected to the Creator. All right, he has a connection with the boss. You can call it the boss of bosses. He's actually connected to the Creator, but it's a very, very thin line. It's very weak. All of our desires here in this world are much more stronger, they're much more powerful than this dot in the heart. So in order for us to get ourselves out of all this worldly desires that we're running after day to day, and to actually pursue and chase after the direction of the dot in the heart, we need to work. We need to work actually on this poor guy here, a lot so that he can actually turn from a little spark into a flame. Because it's very small little spark. It just says, hey, why am I living? And the next day you just forget about it, start running after all kinds of worldly things again. And then all of a sudden after, I don't know, another week, month, maybe a year, you start thinking about, well, why am I living? And then you wake up the next day, you start running after all kinds of other things, other pleasures that keep, that you keep chasing in order to feel happy and content. It's the anticipation of happiness, actually, that makes us strive for things. We're actually never, ever going to be happy. We're just happy from striving, the anticipation of being happy. I think I'll be happy if I get this. And that thinking that I will be happy is actually the happiness that we're after. It's really childish. But what can you do? This is how we grow up. We're like little children running around on the planet. So this dot in the heart, to grow, needs a few things. In order for me to grow it, okay, I'm going to have some influences on it. So I'm going to have to bring it into a good environment, which we're going to go over later on. Just like this world is influencing, right? Television, I don't know, media, movies, right? Hollywood. They're all influencing my desires. I mean, most of my desires are not really mine at all. They're only my desires because I feel like they're mine because I saw it somewhere and I want it. It's not even my desire. I mean, think about it. If we were all living in an isolated island and we had no idea about all the things that people were running after in life, we wouldn't want any of the things they're running after because we don't see them, we don't know about it. We're just living on our island on a white, pristine beach, coconuts, bananas, really nice.
Pina coladas.
Pina colada. See, already he's with the pina coladas. and we're not running after money, fame, or honor, all kinds of things. Why? Because we just don't know about it. We're just going for a swim, chilling out on the beach, eating when we're hungry, and that's it. Just having a really peaceful, quiet life. But once we're in an environment where we see things, where people are getting stuff, well, all of a sudden we say, well, I want an iPhone too, or I want that car as well, I want that house as well. Whatever Mr. Jones next door has, I want to have twice as much. Why? Because our nature, first of all, is egoistic, so it wants more than what the next door neighbor has. And second of all, we want to get what we see. So this vicious cycle of this dog chasing its tail for humanity is like a never-ending horror story. And this is why the world is constantly going through turmoil. All the wars we have, all the conflicts we have is because somebody wants something more than the others. They want to control more. They want to be richer. They want to be more famous. They want to do, or they want the world to be how they want it. Okay? And humanity is just going from one war to another war because that's our egoistic nature. So in order for us to develop something different, something else, to take a different direction, completely different to how this world is living, what we need to do is first have this dot in the heart, that's for sure, because that's the main pinch, that's the main push drive we get that makes us ask about the meaning of life. And now we want to make that meaning, that we want to now make our lives a bit more meaningful now. Now I have to grow that desire. So this is actually a desire, okay? The dot in the heart is actually, it is a desire for spirituality, for a higher level of existence. Spirituality, okay? I want to exist in a higher state. I just want to be above this world. I want to have my life directed towards a purpose, and the purpose of life is to be similar to the Creator. That's the purpose of life, to be like the Creator. Alright? So this dot in the heart must find a way to be similar to the Creator and live in that existence. In order for us to grow this desire, we need to have influences on it. Just like the TV, the media, Hollywood influences all kinds of my worldly desires, and I run after them. I now need some kind of influence from the outside which is positive towards my spiritual development. Now we're going to go into this in detail later on, but just because our friend, what's the name of our friend who asked?
So that it says cornbread.
Cornbread.
Cornbread Jr.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so what we want to do now is actually have this desire for spirituality, and we want to grow it by applying actions onto it. And thought comes into it, but it's not the only thing. In order to grow a desire, I need thought, but to have thought constantly influencing it, I also need actions. So applying actions plus thought in order to influence it, because at the end of the day, this world is the world of action. Here we have to do things, but doing things in order to grow a desire for spirituality requires a thought, and also requires something very special called an intention, which we'll also get into later on. All right? There we go. Anything else?
We got another question.
Okay.
This one is also left from last week, and it says, is the soul eternal? And can it help us live a better life in our physical world?
Of course. So what does it mean to be eternal? Eternal means actually a state which I have attained, and it's constant. That's what it means. And actually the purpose of life is attaining that state of perfection here. And this is actually a constant state. Constant state of existence. Okay, Oded, if you can, oh great, thank you. Okay, so this is a constant state of existence. And the sensation of that constant state of existence is called the soul. Now, this might lead to this question, well, wait a minute, I don't feel that constant state of existence. And if that is the soul, but I don't feel it, does this mean that I actually don't have a soul? If anybody has that question, I'm happy to answer it, but if you don't have it, I don't mind not answering it either. Okay? There you go. So the constant state of existence is here, and that sensation is called the soul. And if we're not living there, does that mean we don't have a soul? All right, I'll answer it for you. We don't have a soul. We have to make one. And I know a lot of religions and teachings and everything, they say we have a soul, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, do you really feel like you have a soul? In life, what do we really feel? We feel either good or we feel either bad. There's in fact nothing in between either. You either feel good or you feel bad. So where's the soul? It's nowhere, because we don't have one. The whole purpose is to build one. Just like the Creator created everything from nothing, we have to build a soul, literally, from nothing. So it is constant state of eternal existence, and living in that state should occur while, you'll be glad to know, while you are here. I know religions and many other teachings lead people to believe that something will happen when and after you die. In the wisdom of Kabala, we've got some really, really realistic news for you. Nothing happens after you die. Everything must happen while you're living here, because the whole purpose of this place is to build the next place. And that should be very logical to you. How can you build the next level of existence if you don't have a foundation for it? And the whole foundation and the infrastructure and the whole concept of building it and starting needs to happen right here. And that foundation's initial stone is the dot in the heart. So a person who has a dot in the heart, who's awakened to the question, why am I living? What's the meaning of my life? Should start to search for that meaning. And throughout that search, one day they'll end up in the wisdom of Kabbalah, because there's no other wisdom that explains everything in so much detail and specific precision. This dot in the heart is a call for the person to build his or her soul, so that they could achieve that constant level of perfect conscious existence called a spiritual state, which is detached and beyond the body, and you need to attain it while you're living in a body. So you can have two things at the same time, or you're going to have two things at the same time. On the one side, my body, and next to it, I'm going to have to build my soul. This is how you can attain the thought and the mind of the Creator. Because if He created everything from nothing, the only way you can attain His thought is to actually do the same thing as He did, and create everything from scratch and to bring it to perfection. And then you can immediately understand how and why He did everything the way He did it, and He was absolutely 100% right in doing so. Right, then you were asking for a question then.
So yes, Hatila is asking, how does the soul communicate, and how do we know if our soul is growing?
Well, first of all, if we want to discover our soul growing, we're going to have to first come to the initial sensation of feeling a spiritual reality. We're not there yet. So if we're not there, there's nothing to talk about. Even if I did tell you, you wouldn't really grasp it, because it's a sensation, it's not with words. This is a place called the barrier. Okay? Here we have a barrier. This barrier is like a wall, and it stops us from feeling spirituality. This is why we feel like we're in this world all the time. This is the barrier. Now, this barrier needs to be overcome. We need to go above it. So we need to kind of get out of this existence and enter a new one while we're living in this body. And this is specifically by developing this dot in the heart. Actually, let me make this green so it stands out here. All right. There we go. And we have to take it beyond the barrier. Once we take it beyond, once we developed it a little bit, just enough for the first spiritual sensation, then you can begin to talk about things that are happening on this side. All right. Until then, the reason I'm explaining all these things is so that we can get our heads around feeling this structure. There's a certain structure in place, a mechanism, a system. The whole of reality is a system, and I'm inside that system. And from being inside that system, I now have to build my life. Just like on earth, in our lives, we have to build a life for ourselves, don't we? Right? So we're growing up, we go to school, we learn to read and write and so on. We get a profession and we start making money, looking after ourselves, then looking after our family and so on. We make something out of ourselves in life, don't we? And the same thing we have to do in spirituality. We have to make a spiritual being. We have to develop our own soul in spirituality. Otherwise, our life here is just a passing phase where we're born, we live, and we die. Just like a dog is born, lives, and dies. Just like a cat is born, lives, and dies. Just like a chicken, just like a monkey, just like an elephant. No difference. A human, a man, is called one who's like the Creator. That's called human. We'll delve into that in our next lesson when we talk about that special person called Adam in the history of humanity. How he was the first person to perceive such a higher reality. And that's where the whole teaching comes from, actually. The wisdom of Kabbalah comes to us from Adam as the first person to perceive that higher reality. And this is his teaching from all those times, all those years ago. But if we don't attain spirituality in life, we will die just like an animal does. And that's it. After death, are we going anywhere? Well, some of us get buried and we go to a grave. And that's about it. Okay. So it's nice to attain a soul, obviously, right?
Better that than just the whole.
That's right. I hope. Is there any other questions there, Anthony?
That was the last one.
Okay. Do we know how many people are here with us today? What is Kurt saying? What's the stats like? Anybody watching us? Or are we on our own today?
Let's see here. I see 14 watching now.
All right. So there's 14 of us. This isn't too bad. And hopefully we'll get some numbers. We'll get increasing numbers. I think in our generation now, as you see, as humanity is coming towards more of a qualitative crisis, where we're really beginning to wonder about the meaning of life while we're living, and we begin to discover that all of human development isn't really making us happy anymore. We're just drifting from one place to another, and the world is not such a satisfying place after all. So once we're now sinking into the sensation of, well, you know, there is really no bright future or great future for us, well, what are we all living for? So as this question develops in humanity, we'll have more and more people studying, and we'll have more and more people coming and asking, and so on. So hopefully this second lesson here has given you a few foundations of how we were created, why we're created, what we have to do, and also our nature. Very, very important to understand that a person can never really be happy in this world simply because the desire and the pleasure, they cancel each other out. You're left with zilch, well, like I said, a minus. So having already known that, beginning to understand that this is how life is, we can now begin to think about, to contemplate, to go after something much bigger. And this is what the Doctrine in the Heart gives us the opportunity to do, to really attain something eternal, never-ending, that will bring us to a higher level of consciousness where all our conflicts, internal as well, because we're always going through these internal conflicts about why this and why that, will all come to a resolution and a reconciliation as we build a higher level of consciousness. Rightio, then our third lesson, which we're going to have next week, is going to be about the history of the wisdom of Kabbalah. This is also a very important lesson and a nice foundation lesson, because you really want to know, although we were created in spirituality, then we were brought to this corporeal level of perception, and from here we now need to build something spiritual by our own efforts and hand in order to earn our independence and be free of our egoistic nature, to be really free actually, and to exist like the Creator. Then now on our next lesson we want to know, well, how this wisdom came out to be. How was it that somebody came up with this wisdom? They discovered the Creator and passed it on from generation to generation. And as we study, you'll find that this wisdom is very deep, has very, very strong foundations, and is actually answering all the questions that we can have about our lives. You know, I'm more than happy for you guys to also prepare questions from ahead if you feel like there are questions you need to have resolution to, an answer to, so that we can answer them. The wisdom of Kabala can answer any question you have about anything.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, sure.
So, is there a certain way we need to be in the world as we grow our souls?
Well, we're all individual and unique. You know, just like, as you can see, me and Anthony, we look completely different from each other, right?
Twins!
There you go. And so does everybody else. Everybody's different, and it's really good that we are different, because being different is how this world becomes richer. And because we're all different, all of us have this different contribution that we can do to make that perfection really perfect. It's like everybody can, join in and apply their certain unique trait to make perfection happen. So all of us are different, but the way we need to do this in a certain way is called the study. The only certain way of doing it is actually in this wisdom. Actually, what we do, the study of the wisdom of Kabala, is a certain way to actually develop that uniqueness in which we can actually apply it to build perfection. So the study does have a methodologic approach to it. There's a methodology behind it. There's a study behind it, which is like a routine study. But this routine study allows you actually to develop that uniqueness that you have specifically, where you can apply it in order to build your spirituality. And we will be getting deeper into that concept of how and how to study, the way to study, and how that environment of studying should be. We're going to be discussing all those in the future lessons. And with that positive note, I think we can end the lesson, since we do not have any more questions. Like I said, we're more than happy to hear your questions. You can write to us, you can email us to us all the time, and hopefully we'll see you in our next lesson next week, Tuesday evening. Have a great day. All the best.